and we can't afford to advertise. What chance do we have of attracting visitors when within a few miles of us are Hatfield House, Luton Hoo, and Woburn Abbey? And with all the attractions the Duke of Bedford is introducing to bring the crowds into Woburn, why should anyone worry about us?" "Why shouldn't they?" Nanny inquired almost angrily. "Queen's Folly is as old and as beautiful as Hatfield House." "And about 1/10 of the size," Aria retorted, and then laughed. "Don't listen to me, Nanny. I am just feeling envious of those who can collect so many more half-crowns than we can, because they have so much more to offer. Not that Charles would admit that any place in the world could be as wonderful as Queen's Folly." "There isn't a place to touch it," Nanny declared stoutly. Aria laughed again. "You're prejudiced, both of you." "And rightly," Nanny snapped. "And rightly," Aria echoed softly. Her eyes were gentle, and she looked at the bent figure of her old Nanny sitting at the table just inside the front open door, waiting to collect money from the visitors to Queen's Folly. It seemed such a splendid chance of making money when they first decided to open the house to the public. Naturally, Charles had at the outset been against the idea of allowing strangers to intrude on his privacy and disturb the peace of the house, which he loved to the exclusion of all else. It was Aria who had convinced him that their only chance of keeping the roof over their heads was by gratifying the curiosity of those who liked to stare at the relics of past glories. When Charles was finally convinced that to open the door of Queen's Folly was not only necessary but expedient, he too became enthusiastic, only to be thrown into a fit of depression and bitterness that the response to their gesture was so half-hearted. It was not surprising, really, that few people had heard of Queen's Folly, let alone found it. It lay down narrow, twisting lanes in the wild, rural greenbelt of Hertfordshire, which is still untouched and unspoilt, even though it lies within 25 miles of London. There were no gay roadhouses with swimming pools and coloured lights along the road that led to Queen's Folly. There were no public houses that had been taken over by smart caterers who were prepared to serve a Ritz luncheon under ancient beams and in front of ancient open fireplaces. Yet a few people did visit Queen's Folly, the more intelligent of them to exclaim with delight at the mellow beauty of the red bricks, which had been erected 5 centuries earlier, to go into ecstasies over the mullioned windows, and to stare incredulously at the pictures that hung in the banqueting hall, finding it hard to believe that they were authentic. And that was all. There was nothing more to see. Queen's Folly was quite tiny. The legend said that it had been built at the command of Queen Elizabeth as a place where she might spend a few informal nights without being surrounded by courtiers, ladies-in-waiting, and attendants. Legends also hinted that there was something romantic in her desire for a small hiding place, but there was nothing to substantiate any of these stories. Queen's Folly was undoubtedly Elizabethan and a perfectly preserved gem of the period. Its name was certainly as old as its foundations, and one could only conjecture as to the reason for its existence, for in the records of the county of Hertfordshire there was nothing save the bald information that it had been built at the order of one Sir Charles Milborne. Had he, perhaps, been yet another gallant who had laid his heart at the feet of the woman who had raised England to unprecedented greatness, and whose adorers had christened her Gloriana? The Queen's portrait hung over the mantelpiece in the banqueting hall. It was not a particularly famous portrait, but it portrayed very successfully the vivid red of her hair. As a child, Aria loved it. "She is red, like me," she had said when she was quite tiny, pointing with a small finger up towards the jewel-spattered tresses of the Virgin Queen. She was a great woman, Nanny had told her, and that's more than you will be if you don't learn to control your temper. Then she had taken Aria by the hand and shown her an old carving on the staircase and made her spell it out loud. "When a Milborne is red, there's trouble ahead." Looking at her charge now, with red hair rioting over her tiny head, the sunlight streaming through the open door, making each curl dance and sparkle, as if, indeed, it was a golden flame rather than ordinary hair, Nanny felt her heart contract suddenly. The child was lovely.